right? But I'm going to ask and request, not only am I going to continue to work hard, I'm going to request from you to join in. All right? So you'll be a part of this great creation. All right? This particular class is going to be called Domestic Trauma Bonding. Domestic trauma bonding. You say, what is trauma bonding? Right? We all have some level of trauma. There's trauma that takes place even when a helicopter flies over your neighborhood constantly. There's trauma when you hear sirens and ambulance sirens and police sirens racing through your neighborhood on a regular basis. You know, what happened? Whose house are they going to now? What block are they going to? And what neighborhood are the police going to now? What happened? So trauma is also the yellow tape that you see at the gas stations in front of grandma's house and things like that. There's so many areas that trauma takes place. Trauma is that stuff that jumps off when one's parents are fighting constantly in the house in front of the children. Trauma is seeing holes punched through the door of mama's room and stuff like that. Trauma is when mama is screaming all the time at daddy. Trauma just goes on, and many of us who have been traumatized have found ourselves bonding and getting in relationships with other people who experience many of the same levels of trauma, other forms of trauma, and we seem to bond to them. We seem to say, they understand, or they come from where I come from, and they come from the pain that I come from, and people that are in pain seem to bond with each other. So this is kind of a cap on what that means. Okay, domestic trauma. Let's get started. Trauma bonding occurs when a person involved in a toxic or abusive relationship forms a strong bond with and often idolizes their abuser. This emotional connection with an abuser is an unconscious way of coping with trauma. According to the National Domestic Violence Hotline, trauma bonds are the result of unhealthy attachments. Humans form attachments as a means of survival. Babies become attached to the parent or caregiver whom they depend on. And adults form attachments to others who they believe provide comfort or support. Please answer the following questions. It says, number one, it says domestic trauma bonding. When it comes to trauma and drama, does your trauma bond you to your drama, or does your drama bond you to your trauma? Right? Does the trauma bind you to drama, and does your drama bind you back to your trauma? Right? It can fluctuate. It can be so familiar that it creates behaviors in some. It creates people making fun of situations. It becomes almost who you are, right? Who you are, because it was a dramatized house, you know, with trauma taking place at the same time. Okay? Number two, domestic trauma bonding. Are you known to bond to trauma? Are you known to bond to drama and trauma the way you deal with your children's father, or do you deal with trauma the way you deal with your baby mama? Right? Domestic trauma bonding. Are you known to bond to trauma and drama the way you deal with your children's father, or do you deal with trauma the way you deal with your baby mama? Right? Right? It's a cycle. It's a cycle, and it's a learned behavior. Even it's a definite learned behavior that is familiar, right? So some say they sometimes talk about absent parents, and we copycat that. We become absent parents many times, and there are times that we adopt behaviors of what we have saw in our upbringing. So if you saw a healthy relationship, if you saw mama treating daddy like a king, if you saw daddy treating mama like a queen, pulling up her chair, pushing her chair in at the table, opening doors for her when she gets in cars, treating her like with excellence in the home, inside the house and outside the house. When they go out, you saw them always really honoring each other and uplifting each other. You will learn those behaviors. But if you see something else, if you see traumatized events jumping off, you very well take a chance and are geared to, and on a high percentage, to imitate those same behaviors in your own adult relationships, right? Number 3, domestic past and present bonding trauma. Are you known to attach and bond to trauma to deal with your present and past history of trauma? Domestic past and present bonding trauma. Are you known to attach and bond to drama to deal with your present and past history of trauma? Some of us will adapt to the behavior of drama, right? To deal with stuff. Some of us will dramatize other people's stories. Some people will make fun of other people because we want to avoid ourselves from dealing with our own issues, our own level of trauma, things that have happened to us. Things that many times we never talk about, but we will dramatize other stuff and act as though we really know what happened to someone else's home or someone else's life. And we can be the cheerleader of a lot of that crap, all right? Number 4, domestic trauma baby bonding. Do you feel or believe it's better to look like something than it is to be something or to become something? Domestic trauma baby bonding. Do you feel or believe it's better to look like something than it is to be something or to become something, right? These are images of dressing up a part, dressing up a role that's not really real. It's not real at all. And it's more of a childish thing. That's why I use the baby word, right? The baby word of baby bonding. This is also another serious case, right? Dressing the part, falsifying a part, playing a role even, dressing up for a dress rehearsal in a movie or in a play or a comedy show. And it's better to look happy than to be happy, or look like something to be something or become something, right? It's a process, so it's all a process. Number 5, domestic trauma baby bonding. Domestic trauma bonding. Did you know when you're dealing with trauma and drama that your trauma is not drama and your drama is beneficial to your trauma when you separate your narrative past from your narrative present, right? Domestic trauma baby bonding. Did you know when you're dealing with the trauma and drama that your trauma is not drama and your drama is beneficial to your trauma when you separate your narrative past from your narrative present, right? A narrative is a story, is your story, right? And if you separate the two, now bringing the two together, right, it creates a problem, right? It creates a problem because you're still living in your past, right? You're living in what happened to you some time ago, but time has passed. Things have gotten different and things have even gotten better. But if you haven't let go or separated your trauma from your drama, right, you're still living it and reliving it over and over again. But one must separate the two separate them and know that I'm not in the past anymore. I'm in the present, and you can move on. You can. We can move on. We'll say we can move on because we all have a little bit of trauma that we've experienced. Most of us. All right. Domestic trauma bonding. During your life and your upbringing, did you learn from others that winners never lose and losers never win that experience trauma in their life? Domestic trauma bonding. During your life and your upbringing, did you learn from others that winners never lose and losers never win that experience trauma in their life? Right? Did you learn that? Right? If you did, it's not true, right? You can't listen to what people say all the time. You can't do. You must do your own homework, and I suggest you fight past what may have happened, like I said, in your upbringing, and what you've heard is true. Losers are people that have been on the losing end have become winners, right? And people that have been on the winning side have become even losers. This thing can happen to anybody. You know, you can have a winning season, you can have a losing season, but you wanna keep fighting for a winning season, right? Life is a bunch of seasons, right? We have winter, spring, fall. We have fall, winter, spring, and summer, right? One must know, even though it's a lot of rainy weather, there's a lot of storms, tornadoes, hurricanes within one's fall or a storm that could be taking place. One must know that spring will come and the summer will come too, and you're gonna get some sun and you're gonna get some sunshine, and it's gonna be some brighter days. So just know that. Just know that. Number seven. Domestic confusion, trauma, drama. In most relationships, are you known to confuse trauma with drama, or are you known to bind your trauma with drama that you've had with your mama, right? Domestic confuse trauma, drama. In most relationships, are you known to confuse trauma with drama, or are you known to bind your trauma with drama that you've had with your mama, right? What does that mean? Well, many of us, especially males, right? Especially males, women and mothers are the first contact a male has in life. The first one. She's not your girlfriend. She's not your relationship friend. She's your mama, right? So she's the first example of the opposite sex, right? And she plays a role even in her daughter's life. But for a male, she's the first one. And so many times when there's brokenness within the son relationship, the mother-son relationship, that drama, it can become confusing, right? And if you have drama with your mama, right, it can confuse you. It can confuse you in most of your relationships. It can have you confusing the drama, the trauma you may have had with your mom, and it can mix in with drama, right? So it confuses trauma and drama, right? And it includes mama many times. So hopefully you can get past that. You can heal from the relationship with mama, you know, and you can get better. You can mature in the area, in that particular area, and you can get better with your relationship with the opposite sex. You know, you can get better. You would want to get better. We all want you to get better. All right, number 8, domestic drama, trauma bonding. For those who say and believe you want what others have, would you trade your drama for others' pain and trauma? Or trauma for new drama, right? Domestic drama, trauma bonding. For those of you say and believe you want what others have, what other people have, would you trade your drama for other people's pain and trauma, or your trauma for new drama, right? I mean, like, you got to know what people have. Some people say, "Ooh, I wish I had his life. I wish I had her life." Do you really? One must really find out what one's whole life is. And even if you go in as a top investigator, you will never really know the pain. Really never really know the pain unless you've had to live the full life. Because it wasn't all cookies. It wasn't all what you think you see. Some people have been fortunate. Some people have received settlements. Some people have won the lottery, right? But you don't really know what their story is. All you see in others' lives or what you see on television, what you see from a distance. That's all you know. You see a house, you see the car, you see all these things. You see the rims on the car, you see the nice attire, the outfits, but you don't really know the full story and what many people have to live with. We have had actors, entertainers, been at the top level of their life. You have had DMXs that's been at the top level of life, which looks like millions of people at a concert, and you never really know what pain they walk with. You see people that are multi-millionaires and will never be broke as long as they live, and commit suicide or get addicted to drugs and can't stop, or stop using drugs and keep going back, trying to medicate the pain, trying to put a Band-Aid on a wound, and you never really know what they may be going through before you say you would trade your life for their life to have what they have. You really may not want everything they have. All right? Number 9, domestic bonding trauma. Does your known trauma make you traumatize others, or does your trauma cause you to stand up? Domestic bonding trauma. Does your known trauma make you traumatize others, or does your trauma cause you to stand in the gap and protect your sisters and your hurt brothers? Right? Does what you've gone through make you become a copycat? Are you empathetic to think about others, or feel the pain of others, or sympathetic even to say, well, I can just imagine what they may be going through or what someone else is going through? And are you willing to stand in the gap, right, to protect your sisters and your brothers who, that may be going through something, that may seem to be going through something? I mean, what kind of individual are you is the question, right? Number 10, we're going to close this out, all right? Domestic, secure, and insecure trauma bonding. Are most areas in your life secure or insecure areas, like ball games, concerts, comedy shows? If you believe secure, why wasn't Chris Rock safe and secure when Will Smith physically attacked him at the Oscar Awards? Domestic, secure, and insecure trauma bonding. Are most areas in your life secure or insecure? Areas like ball games, concerts, comedy shows, right? People say, oh, yeah, man, I feel safe. I feel safe. And even at an award show, one of the most places of all places that one would assume that everybody who had gotten an invitation, not just a ticket, because I don't know if you can just buy a ticket and show up to some of those events that's on certain levels, right? So the assumption is one is safe. The assumption is that if I had gotten on stage, if I was hosting the Oscars, that I, like Chris, would be safe. But if he was what one believed was safe, then he would be safe against uh, an attack, especially a physical attack. So as we go on, we're going to continue to learn about drama, and we're going to learn about trauma, you know, and I thought it was going to be a wonderful topic, and I hope you all enjoyed it. But that was a lot of trauma and a lot of drama that took place at the award show, and I hope that there can be some prayers and some healing taking place to heal this thing and put it behind us, and even come to a time where it's not something that's so much talked about, but something that one could learn from, we can all learn from, and we can all come to a place that we need to get along better, and we need to work on ourselves before we go out and mingle amongst other people's selves, right? Okay, that's gonna be it for yours truly, your domestic issues counselor, Mr. James